beyond the scope of the EFC questions. You've asked questions about Russia and a bunch of other things. And so that testimony was public. That has been a pattern that has been in the public realm. And so the reason the Clintons have pushed back on that is because you actually have gone beyond the scope of the EPS investigation in depositions on this investigation with folks you have subpoenaed. I just want to be clear about that, because you just mentioned that right now in your comments. And the second thing I want to say, just to Ms. Sansbury's point, to reiterate, is regardless of when it was done, it's false to say that the Clintons haven't agreed to a transcript of deposition.
Your mama
they
was
have
false.
agreed to a transcript. They've done it and they've reiterated that position in an email that they sent today. It's a position they've made before.
Yeah,
to position
very legalese.
Obviously, to position that they've made before to your team. It's a position that they have made a few days ago. They publicly said it in the press. In fact, it was covered, I think, today or yesterday in an article in the New York Times.
All
and
right.
they again reiterated it during this testimony when you
The
said
tedium.
that that's not that they
The
not
tedium.
clarified the position. They're willing for it to be true.
The tedium.
Chair recognizes who's next.
I still have time.
Okay.
If that's okay, Chair, I would like to use the remainder of my time and yield it to Representative Min.
Thank you, Rep. Simon. I just want to add a couple.
They used to call me a Democrat. A friend of mine's very wealthy grandmother called me a Democrat. I'm starting to see what she meant. This is where we are, 17,463,715 shares. I said that wrong. 17,463,714 shares of Railtown. You guys have built a substantial position. I think there's no one else out there like you except the two founders. So let's just see this through. This is my continuing effort every day to stand in there. Some may see it as stubborn and misguided and that I'm off my rocker, which I guess time will tell. Others may give it a better, a more charitable interpretation or viewpoint. I don't know. But in any event, it's something I made a commitment to do, so I'm doing it. I do want to quickly, before I get too far in, as the Democrats keep talking, and I am a Democrat still. I haven't changed my affiliation. I just want to put this up because it's that time of month. I need to pay for this. I need to pay for the hookups. Need to pay for the utilities around me. And so I'm going to just ask, and I think this might be the last month, although I can't promise that I have to do that. YouTube doesn't really, I don't earn any money from YouTube. So the only way I can do it is ask. So let me put this up while I organize a couple of thoughts and listen to the Democrats.
So you have the culpable mental state and you have the act. The act took place.
Oh, that's a repub.
When they didn't show up. That's the defiance. They didn't show up. Now the question is, was it willful? Well, the other piece of evidence you have that it was willful is they sent a little note saying, this is all we're going to say. This is what happened here. And that's the evidence. It was willful. They knew that. They knew
that's a repub.
Because they negotiated with you. You even moved the time for them. They chose not to come. When you reissued the date, you gave them the date that ostensibly is going to be more convenient.
Your daddy told me not to come. Your mama told you not to come.
A note in saying,
what was the Three Dog Night song?
This is what I'm going to say. I'm not saying anything more. That's the culpable mental state. You've got willful defiance.
You make too much
contempt
sense.
is appropriate. And I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. Very good, very good. The question is now on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
What's the amendment?
All those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The recorded vote is ordered. As previously announced, further proceedings on the question will be postponed. Pursuant to the previous order, the chair declares the committee in recess, subject to the call of the chair. We will plan to convene immediately after the first vote series. With that, the committee will
All right.
stand in recess.
So when do the Clintons have to join you? I guess no time soon. Clintons testify.
All right, now we're good. Okay. The committee will come back to order.
All right, we're waiting.
Now, pursuant to notice, I call up a report containing a resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find Secretary of State Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to... Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order.
I have a point of order too.
Point of order, state your point.
Are the
What is your
amendments
point?
going to precede the vote on the two resolutions, or is it the other way around?
We'll vote on the amendments. We're going to roll everything to the end of the committee so we can have everybody back in here to vote on it.
Good, thank you.
So I just read that to you guys. All right.
All right,
As I was saying,
go ahead.
pursuant to notice, I call up a report containing a resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find Secretary of State Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to
That's
comply with the
pretty
newly
amazing.
issued subpoena issued by this committee. The clerk will report the report, which has been distributed in advance.
A report containing a House resolution recommending that the House of
I'm sure
Representatives find former Secretary of
won't
State
pass.
Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a duly issued subpoena issued by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform.
I ask unanimous consent that the report be considered as read and open for amendment at any point without objection. So ordered. The chair recognizes himself to offer an amendment in the nature of a substitute. The clerk will please report the amendment.
An amendment
All right,
in the nature of
let's,
substitute offered to the contempt report.
I'll just let that run in the background, not with noise, to see if anything dramatic happens. You know she's gonna be just fine. The single most qualified person to ever run for president. Oops. I'm just trying to sign in. Something I always forget to do before I sign on. Uh-oh, Railtown must be approaching 27 cents. Finger is down 8.5 cents at 121.03. GDC, which, I mean, there was a press release that said it was worth $22 a share or something like that. It's $3.55. Remember, they had all that crypto and Bitcoin going into the treasury. I mean, how can it miss? MTEN up 0.13, no, up 0.1246 at 193.96. ZJYL 14 cents. Let's see how the markets are doing. The Dow is flat. NASDAQ down, which must be one of the tech companies. S&P down, I guess, but not much. And let's see what he's saying. Saying something important.
Incorporated this committee. it's also appropriate that we deal with her case in the way we have dealt with others that have been able to answer in writing or have been
That's
dismissed.
the Democrat. That's the Democrat, just like me. The Democrat, just like me. All right, let's see where we are with your comments. I do have a small bit of commentary to make, and then I don't know how I fill out 2 hours. I have been having discussions on the gold company that we're in. I'm looking for indications of interest. I'd like to get to 50,000 as a mini, and maybe a maxi of around. Well, not actually. I have no maxi. It can go as high as it wants, but I don't think there's enough of you that it could get it probably up to 500,000. That would be great. 500,000 would be great, but there's no really maxi on it. But I'd feel I'd feel confident if we could get it to 150,000, but 50,000 is fine, or whatever. And of course, you have my email. You can email me to tell me you want to hear from me. There's about 25 of us in that round that we did about 1.5 years ago. It's a great deal. Same terms as that still. This guy's showing that DOJ has released less than 1% of Epstein files, as if they're gonna hook Trump. But I guess if you have a bad hand, you keep playing it, and eventually you win, I guess. But anyway, it's Farrand with a D, balanced at Gmail, and talk about a really cheap valuation that could as soon as the gold is weighed, as Chuck says, it's real simple. You weigh the gold, and as soon as that's done, which we just haven't gotten there yet because we haven't built out the pilot plant. But when we get there, and the arithmetic is so obvious that even a idiot like myself can do it, you multiply, I don't know if you want to believe it, but there could be 1 billion ounces, 1 billion tons of resource there. Let's not use 1 billion. Let's use 500 million. You multiply that times better than 0.20 ounces of gold recovered. And that's 100 million ounces of gold. And in a time when gold prices have more than doubled, almost tripled, really, from when we put up our money, someone's going to glom onto it, and I think those someones are circling. So I want to protect our position. I also want to make sure that those who want to participate can be there in it. I would have loved that Railtown had already moved, but it hasn't yet. But that's life. You can't make everything line up perfectly. But I do believe if we act, which is what I'm asking you to help me do, when Railtown works, this will be just a relatively small bolt-on that could magnify returns for the next 5-10 years. So, and it's only one of many opportunities that I have. It's just that it's, by its nature, it's becoming very urgent. So anyway, we can talk about that, but that's not why most of you tuned in. So I will shift to Railtown, which is now 2742. It's interesting, the discussion out there, and I try to listen or read about all of it. The fears of an AI crash, open AI crashing. Obviously, energy, not being enough energy out there to handle the build out. But there's other really smart people like Mark Andreessen, who, if you listen to him, he thinks that 2026 is the most transformational year in human history, which of course we only know about 5,000 of our years. There might have been something happened way back when. All right, here's Comer talking. What's he saying?
Relationship with Maxwell as well as a financial.
Do you think he
relationship
dyes
with
his hair?
She's had 5 months as well to come before this committee. We voted in a bipartisan manner.
All right. I'm already bored. So when you listen to Mark Andreessen, he doesn't think the AI boom has even started, basically. It's interesting. He ties in, which is something I've tried to discuss with you. He thinks that the world's population is in collapse, and during this next 100 years, we're going to have a complete decline in population. Well, you know, it's unfair to blame it on women because men can't have children, but that's how they measure it. They measure it against the population, the female population, and it's in countries like South Korea and Japan and China and here. But in Southeast Asia, the replacement rate is under one child per woman. And this is a decision we've made collectively, and I'm sure it's the men's fault too. But it's not really about fault. It's about the result. And we're going to have really severely declining population. And one thing, he doesn't bring this up because he's too savvy to bring it up. But I've mentioned that I think wokeism and this 3rd or 4th iteration of feminism has led to interesting allocation of jobs and people. It's a big experiment. But one of the things is a lot of the lesser jobs, which is where I think wealth is going to be created, may not get done, like farming. There's not enough farmers. But what Mark Andreessen points out, and this is the whole point of these thought exercises, is the robotics. The robots are coming. And so maybe you can have a world led by women and weaker sex, or weak old guys like me, you know, no longer the able to do all that hard manual work. You could replace all of that with robots. So that's a trend that's happening. And he just doesn't see it reversing. I don't see it reversing. Are you going to use your iPhone less? Are you going to, I mean, Apple's coming up with this, and it drives me crazy because I sat around with the guy that founded the first government bond fund, and a friend of mine. This was 20 years ago. It was my idea, but we all started talking. I just at the time didn't have the money, but that AirTag thing. So it just shows you got to act. You got to go act, claim the space. But I couldn't do it. But Apple is going to create like a little badge that you wear, so your AI's with you wherever you go. And is that going to stop? Is that going to stop if the markets crash? I'm not sure about that. Not sure about it. So we hear the fear out there, but remember the fear's out there to get swaths of money moving both ways, kind of like water on a roiling ship deck. And that's how the professional traders make money. There's a Democrat talking, defending the Clintons, which I guess you got to do. Ends justify the means. I used to think that was, we weren't for that, but I guess we are. So I've got some things to show you on those. On my opinion is that the AI space is just a huge thing. It's like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know what a good comparison is. I really don't. I can't come up with a good comparison, but it encompasses so many aspects of what AI is trying to do that if you get focused on AI having a correction or a collapse, how does that affect Railtown? I mean, Railtown's already in the toilet, as Archie Bunker might say. So, all right, the Democrat gave up. Now, Comer, do you think he dyes his hair? Comer is speaking. He may not. There's no vote. There's no Clintons. So let me see how many comments. Let me go through your comments. Every time I go to what it calls media, if I haven't answered questions, there's always a risk that I come back and they're missing. So let me go through them first. I don't have a huge bit. I suppose I can figure out how to stretch it out. I really thought the Clintons were supposed to show up today. I guess they're not. Hey, Steve. Pat M. Hey, Steve. Jack Hamilton. How are you, Sir Jack? Jack Hamilton. Your mama quote is stuck in my head. It's always a very mature reaction, I find. E. Belanger, all in for the cash cows. Added, all right. Way to be. In general, I think I recall what we summarized yesterday, and I have them here. I can go back and find it. But I think the computer came up with odds of over 80% that Railtown would they're having a vote. William J. Clinton contempt. And it looks like that one Democrat is voting with, oh no, I have it backwards. One Republican's voting with the Democrats. Nope, it went back to the Republican. So I don't know. They'll say what the result is. Anyway, I think it was over 80% that Railtown would go up to try to approximate the valuation of Langchain if proof of concept succeeded at TELUS/Uniserve. I think it said less than 5% that Railtown would crap out. And so what does that leave? That's like that Norm Macdonald joke. You'll notice these percentages don't add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman, and everyone is shocked in the audience. He said, those of you who are upset with that should know that this joke was written by a woman. And then the audience laughs, gasps, second guesses itself, and he waits just the perfect amount of time. And he says, no, just kidding. We don't hire women. I guess I'm the only one that found that funny. So anyway, I don't remember if that it was maybe I don't remember the ratios. We can try to look them up. But in broad strokes yesterday, the computer Perplexity calculated that the odds were B plus range that Railtown would have, that was my word, snapback, but they used that word, but would have a rapid catch-up phase to the Langchain valuations, over 80%. And I think it was under 5% that it would completely go bust. That's only about 80, 85, 90%. I don't forget what the other 10, 15% was, but I can find it. So I have a slightly different angle on the questions today, which I'll show you. Important things are going on. Colby Crabby-Ellie, with all due respect, that means it's about to be disrespectful. I listened to what that beach guy said about the link not working for Railtown, and I understand where. Wujere, I can't believe you posted this and you misspelled where. I mean, oh my gosh. I think you and Sleepy Hollow should get together and make sure before you post things, it is perfect. I would compare it to if you were late to a job interview, or maybe to misspelling where, with all due respect, and spelling do with do instead of do. I don't know, you guys. You're stretching for straws to come up with something to condemn a story, which has nothing to do about whether or not the LinkedIn page, it is attached to a LinkedIn page, but the LinkedIn page is empty. LinkedIn is a cesspool of rumors opinions. And if you're in a quiet, I know I can't use the word quiet period. If you're in a blackout period because material non-public information is pending, wouldn't you, in an abundance of caution, leave your LinkedIn page empty? I know I would, because one thing you guys would come on criticizing is how could a CEO expose his company to the threat of class action suits? I mean, with you, there's no way to win. In all due DO respect. Whichever you're coming from. Hey, Fast Eddie. All right, it looks like the Republicans on this one, Hillary, it looks like it's hard to read. I think they did vote for Hillary to be referred for contempt, but not yet Bill. We'll find out. It'll be in the news. Spelling errors on your resume, etc. So you're comparing it to spelling errors on your resume, but you're not checking your own spelling on your posts. I see, Krabby Ellie. You cut yourself slack, but you can't cut anyone else slack. Look, Railtown's not in a job interview with us. They don't need us. They'll be just fine. The big institutional investors with hundreds of billions to invest, they'll be at their door if they're not already. And I'll tell you the reason why. If I'm not. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, let's see what else you said. First impressions go a long way in the business world. Well, I'm not impressed with your work product, but see, I don't judge people on first impressions. Otherwise, I'd be maybe adjudged as ignorant. I think we all can cut others slack. But Railtown's not on a job interview. Sorry. They have the job. And they're going to do just fine. The idea being, if such a slip up, what slip up? Can I just tell you? The link on the bottom of railtown.ai website that links to LinkedIn works. That's professional. That links to YouTube works. That's mostly professional. That links to X, Twitter, works. It links. It just goes to a page that says something's wrong, but the page is there with the link, with the X handle. My guess is you don't post anything. You don't start a conversation full of opinion and innuendo and guesses and goobers and gobbles. When you're in a period of material, non-public information needing to be disclosed, I would say it's more professional than your suggestion that they open up that interaction. But we can agree to disagree. But it's not a first impression type thing. If a slip up happens on a simple issue, how can they handle the challenges of a job? Oh. Do you know in baseball, the greatest hitter of all time, there's only one hitter in the recorded time, I'm sure in the what they refer to as the Negro Leagues, I'm sure there were many, and there might have been some prior to record keeping. There's only, to my memory, only one batter that was correct in his production 4 out of 10 times. He was wrong 6 times, but he was correct 4 times. One. That's Ted Williams. I think your criticism is both puny and stupid. He wasn't out of line for pointing this out. I think you're out of line for wasting so much time on a picayune observation that you don't even know what you're talking about. He's saying if Railtown can't or won't bother to fix a 1998 Internet World 101 issue, he said it's broken. It's not broken. And you're such an idiot, you're joining in with him without looking at it. Go to railtown.ai, click the little Twitter, twit X at the bottom, and there's a page there. So it's just a red herring. How can they handle the complicated stuff? I don't know. They use brains. They use their high IQs. Maybe you're not accustomed to having to use a high IQ. But a lot of really smart people and accomplished people fail at all sorts of things. All sorts of things. But they get the big things right. You choose to focus on not only the small things, you choose to focus on the infinitesimally unimportant things to show that you, number one, have limited IQ, and number two, you're not going anywhere in life. This is your opinion. Well, thank you for sharing it. Hey, Mr. Nito, I hope you're doing well. Krabby, I'm saying I personally wouldn't hold it against Railtown in this case, but I understand that kind of thinking in life. Well, I hope it works for you. If I told you you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? That's Monty Python. The eel, the hovercraft, the Hungarian dictionary skit. When he goes into the tobacconist trying to buy cigarettes, he says, "My hovercraft, she is full of eels." And the guy says, "Sorry?" Anyway, you get the point. Akira Nova, hello, Akira. Silver Skyrocket, red pepper. Silver Skyrocket. You can Google how to make your channel subscription based. I know there's this woman I listen to, Pearl, who she's about 29, 30 years old, and she has a lot of interesting ideas, but she has I'm sure I have to pay for it, but she has a process how to build your channel and how to do things like that. And it's on my list to do to try to make things more professional, to reach out to her. She doesn't know me from Adam, but to see what would be involved in upgrading. I think one thing I need to do it is a more robust, I hate that word too, a stronger computer to handle everything. And this is plenty strong. It's just, it's not This is iOS. The other thing is something else. So it just doesn't work quite well, but I think you have a good idea. Then you can charge a monthly fee. You need at least 1,000, which you have. Yeah. Yeah. Despite my being ornery and mean and misguided at times. It's a good idea. Hey, Julie Kim. D-Mac. 1,000 more. That's great, D-Mac. I'm putting it down. What's going on now? Which side of that? Oh, it's a repub.
Over a long period of time.
A
We've been
repub.
working for 5 months to nail down a date for a deposition, working in good faith in the entire time. The Clintons have been evading this committee, at one point even deciding that they were going to propose.
That's actually
Christmas
pretty
Day.
repetitive. Silver Skyrocket. Why would Crappy and that Sleepy Beaches guy even come here if they get nothing out of these? Go take a long walk on a short pier. That's pretty good. Ban these morons. I will. I will do. Thank you for reminding me, because I need to do it after I've answered them. Apparently, I just banned, but apparently they owned a little bit, but I don't believe it. Who was the other one? Oh, that was the only one. It's banned, so I won't get buried in it. All right, so let me show you what I have. It's not much, but it's. I think it makes a powerful point. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right.
There's a clear, long-standing, obvious connection between the Clintons and the Epsteins. I think we get that.
Mama and Daddy say it's a shame. He's a downright disgrace. But as long as I have you by my side, I don't care what your people say. Oh, there's Anna Paulina Luna.
Is because of Judge Paul Engelmeyer in New York. This judge specifically ordered the SDNY to do a second
She's
review.
easy on the
and for
eyes,
those
Anna
documents to then be
Paulina
certified by
Luna.
U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton. So if you want to get
It's
mad at
Mrs.
someone,
Luna.
look no further than Judge Paul Engelmeyer, who then also, at the same time, just denied Massey and Rokan's motion to appoint a special master. So we can argue back and forth all day long about where the files. I want to see the files too. I want everyone to come in and answer questions. But look no further than this person. By the way, this person is not a Democrat or Republican. I think this person actually might be an independent. But if you're wondering where the files are at, that is the truth of the matter. That's it. As soon as those files come out at the DOJ, we're going to get them. And by the way, I will remind people that weren't here earlier, Todd Blanche will get on a phone call with people here. And after this, I'm going to go
I went by her office 3 times.
Chairman Garcia and to Chairman.
Never there. I guess because she's married. She knew that I had larceny on my mind. All right. That was for the MMTLP effort. I'm trying to see which one to start with. This one, I guess. So I asked the question from the other direction. Here's our situation. Is Langchain correctly priced? Or is Railtown correctly priced? Are Langchain and Railtown perfect comps? Do the people at Sequoia, IVP, Benchmark, and a dozen other private equity girls and guys, are their metrics and their data and their information, and frankly, their hundreds of millions of dollars so wrong in valuation that the market for Railtown is correct? Or has Railtown been subject to walking down the price over 6 months by the heaviness? I use that word simply because to call it shorting doesn't describe. She's still talking. I like watching her without listening, actually. But then Comer starts talking, and I'd rather not watch him. So the interesting question is the Lang chain valuation incorrect and the Railtown valuation correct? Or is Lang chain correct and Railtown incorrect, if I said that correctly? You get my point. They both could be wrong, and you meet in the middle. But if the market is correct about Railtown, shouldn't Lang chain collapse? Anyway, it's just food for thought. So let's go with the question. I asked, what odds do you give that Anna Paulina Luna's marriage is in good shape? No, I didn't say that. What odds do you estimate that Lang chain falls to Railtown AI Technologies enterprise value? What odds that Lang chain's value increases, and by how much? Also stays the same. So the answer came. Lang chain is unlikely to significantly decline in value relative to Railtown AI Technologies enterprise value, given Lang chain's established unicorn status and market leadership in AI orchestration. I'm not positive on that, but the propaganda teams got started first there. Instead, modest growth or stability is more probable for Lang chain amid ongoing AI agent demand, while Railtown's low enterprise value, 50 million or less, offers asymmetric upside potential through partnerships like TELUS. Lang chain's valuation outlook. Lang chain's post-money valuation stands at $1.25 billion from October 2025 Series B round, with no public updates indicating a decline or new rounds as of February 2026. Its annual recurring revenue was 12 to 16 million as of mid-2025, implying 80 to 100x multiples. Bravo, Perplexity, you finally got that one right. Likely higher, the ARR, likely higher now because of Langsmith adoption at enterprises like Cisco and ServiceNow. This is Perplexity, I estimate 65% odds that the Lang chain valuation increases 20 to 60%, something I've been suggesting to you, to $1.5 billion, $2 billion, driven by peer multiples at 40 to 50x and agentic AI hype. Perplexity gives 30% odds that the valuation stays flat, and just 5% odds of a meaningful decline in LangChain's valuation, barring a market crash. So let's see, did a woman do this arithmetic math? 65 plus 5 is 70, plus 30? No, it must have been a guy. I'm just joking. It does add up. All right, Railtown's AI context. Railtown AI Technologies trades in Canada at 35 cents a share with a 51 million market cap, 51 million enterprise value. Deeply discounted despite TELUS Sovereign AI Factory proof of concept pending and recent rail engine launch. I didn't put any of that up in this question. Recent rail engine launch. This pricing embeds skepticism on the annual recurring revenue ramps. But prior models peg, quote unquote, snapback to LangChain comps, 20 to 30x forward revenue. I didn't put any of this up here, at $3 to $10 a share, or 25x returns if the execution scales. And I've already told you, and you don't have to believe me, but NVIDIA's chips are built to scale. And Railtown's platform is built to scale. They both feel the need to scale. LangChain falling to this enterprise value level implies a 99% drop. And they say impossible. It's impossible to tell a baby not to cry. It's just impossible. So the odds of LangChain falling to Railtown's valuation, another way of putting it, the odds of the market, the so-called market, being correct about Railtown's valuation as compared to LangChain, I'm stretching it a little, I understand, the odds are near 0%. Near 0% that the market is correct in its so-called evaluation of Railtown. It's just the criminals, the heaviness. Railtown catching up via merger and acquisition, 10 to 50x multiples in AI orchestration is far likelier at 20 to 40% probability over 12 months. LangChain falling to Railtown's level implies a 99% drop. Implausible. It's implausible to tell a baby not to cry. It's just implausible. So odds are near 0%. Railtown catching up by merger and acquisition activity is far likelier over the next 12 months. So they put a little scenario chart together. It's a little jumbled up. But on the top line, 65% odds that Lang Chain increases in value from here to 1.5 to 2 billion, and 65% odds that Railtown validates the comps and it boosts Railtown to 200 million, 500 million in enterprise value. That's 10x. Stays the same. The odds of Lang Chain staying the same, 30%. And it says here, this is where this chart gets a little bit confusing. Status quo, Railtown needs catalysts for parity. So I guess what it's saying, 30% odds that Railtown sits at 50 million market cap. But the catalysts have to come out, that being proof of concept, particularly at TELUS, the AIP network moving their money, and Uniserve, and they bump off of this, stay the same. And then the odds that Lang Chain falls to Railtown's enterprise value, 5%. And it's near impossible without total failure, both at Railtown and at Lang Chain. These odds blend public data, peer M&A trends, which assume rich 2026 multiples, and my prior focus on Railtown's hyperscaler potential versus Lang Chain's benchmarks. The risks are that competition erodes the moats, both for Lang Chain or for Railtown. And one of the biggest moats Railtown has is Canadian sovereignty. I think that's going to be hard. But they give that a 10% to 20% odds, very low. And of course, in both cases, particularly with Railtown, upside is tied to proof of the annual recurring revenues. So I said, estimate the odds that Mrs. Mace's marriage is a happy one. No, I got distracted. Estimate the odds of the market demand for orchestration frameworks, infrastructure, software companies like Lang Chain, Railtown, others. What are the odds that that market collapses, stays the same, or increases? How big is the market? What's the growth of the market? Is the market big enough to allow for multiple winners? And so on. So here's the answer. The market for AI orchestration frameworks and infrastructure software remains robust, with strong growth projected because of enterprise agentic AI adoption. Odds heavily favor expansion over stagnation or collapse, supporting multiple winners in a multi-deca-billion total addressable market. Demand collapse odds, 5%. Requires broad AI winter, unlikely, this is unlikely, amidst a $1.4 trillion, with a T, infrastructure, software infrastructure spend, and maybe other infrastructure. What are the odds it stays the same? 15% that the market stays the same. That is possible if scaling risk hit 40% of the current projects. What are the odds that the total addressable market increases? 80%. 80%. The shift to agentic software drives 20 to 40% CAGR. 20 to 40% compound annual growth rates. Expect growth 2 to 3x by the end of the decade, 4 years. With total addressable market expanding from 11 to 18 billion last year, and then to 30 billion to 50, I can't read that, 58 billion, I think it says, by the end of the decade. The total addressable market size and multiple winners. AI orchestration, total addressable market hits 30 billion by 2030. Nested in 40 to 50 billion agentic AI and 1.4 trillion broader infrastructure spend. Yes, this total addressable market is large enough for multiple decabillion valuations, evidenced by competitors like the llama is a quadruped. The llama index, haystack, semantic kernel, all are thriving alongside of LangChain. Dozens of frameworks, cloud giants are entering. Fragmented workflows, RAG agents, multi-model, allows 5 to 10 winners at the 1 to 10 billion range each. This is akin to software as a solution company layering. So it seems like in the estimate of Perplexity, LangChain's success does not mean Railtown's demise. But that's how I'm interpreting what it said. You might have a different opinion. Railtown investment case. Railtown's 40 to 50 million market cap embeds deep discount despite 6+ years of R&D, TELUS Uniserve proof of concepts, and intellectual property in sovereign agentic orchestration, prime for hyperscaler. I hate to tell you what I thought that said. Tuck-ins at 10 to 50x ARR multiples. Investors hesitate because of microcap illiquidity, trading noise like failures to deliver float lockup, and ARR proof delay. But asymmetry screams buy. Asymmetry screams buy. For those tolerant of volatility, I don't know how once your ball is stopped bouncing and it's flat on the floor, how much volatility there really is. But all right, asymmetry screams buy for those tolerant of volatility. 25x plus upside for Railtown if it achieves Lang chain comps. Execution risk, about 10 to 20%, is dwarfed by total addressable market tailwinds. Then I asked, how much of the total market does Railtown have to claim for itself? Railtown would need to capture just 0.1 to 0.5% of the 2026 AI orchestration total addressable market to match peers like LangChain via comparable annual recurring revenue and multiples. They only have to match less than 0.5%, capture 0.5% of the total addressable market. Strong TELUS Uniserve execution could deliver visible forward 12-month annual recurring paths within quarters, scaling to peer levels. LangChain, 12 million to 16 million ARR mid-2025, implying 1.25 billion valuation at 80 to 100x. Now likely revenues are 20 to 30 million after some growth. Llama index, haystack, semantic kernel, less than 10 million annual recurring revenue each, early stage, or no public figures. Partners like Lizer hit 1 million via Llama index. To match, Railtown needs 10 to 20 million, and I've shown you they'll get that simply from their own network, the network they just bought, moving over to TELUS. This is in the bag. I mean, if the company got hit by a bus, maybe it wouldn't happen. Railtown needs 10 to 20 million forward ARR at 20 to 50x multiples for $200 million to $1 billion valuation. 0.7% to I guess that's, I don't know how to describe that. 0.1% to 0.14% total addressable market share. Do you see how small the gains have to be? Now, I would suggest that it's not fair to compare anymore to LangChain's puny revenues last year, but who knows? So 2026, total addressable market 14 billion. For 14 million ARR, that's LangChain's parity, it would be a 0.1% market share that Railtown would have to get. At the peer average 10 million, it's less than 0.1%. It's a multi-winner space, $60 billion space for revenue by 2034. It easily fits. Railtown's sovereign focus carves niche without dominating. It doesn't need to dominate. So the prior models that this chain of thought has gone through, of 25 million to 100 million ARR justifies $500 million to $2 billion enterprise value. But it's less than 1/10 of the market share to get there. Yes, proof of concepts. TELUS, Sovereign AI Factory, Confab. January 26 could ramp to 10 to 25 million forward ARR in 1 to 2 quarters. And you know it will do that much because they own the network that's going to bring that over. Anyway, via affiliates and software teams using maybe hundreds of thousands of users at 10 to 50K a seat. Uniserve adds edge, revenue share, perhaps 20% of discounted cash flows. It accelerates if TELUS hits scale. Visible path to 20 million forward 12-month annual recurring revenue by Q3 26 is feasible on outperformance. There's some barriers. You got to have early revenue proof. But the IP, the intellectual property, and the 6 years of work de-risks the risks. The llama is a quadruped. The llama index, haystack, and semantic kernel are private, early stage, open source AI frameworks with no publicly disclosed annual recurring revenue as of this month. Llama Index raised 19 million in a Series A year ago, signaling pre-revenue or low single digit annual recurring revenue. Llama Cloud has 300,000 users, and let's see, Railtown could have that many users in 48 hours if it scales. I might be jumping the gun, but let's see. And 25 million monthly downloads. So the llama is getting a head start, implying 1 to 5 million ARR from enterprise tiers. Partners like Lazire hit 1 million ARR via Llama Index integrations. Haystack ARR. Haystack by DeepSet focuses on RAG and search. No ARR disclosed, but post-Series A and B funding, 30 to 50 million estimate, and enterprise adoption, ZenML ecosystem, peg it at less than 5 million in ARR, similar to peer frameworks. Emphasis on production RAG suggests modest paying customers. Semantic kernel ARR. Microsoft's semantic kernel is open source with enterprise backing, no standalone funding or ARR. It's integrated into Azure Copilot stacks. Any ARR is internal to Microsoft, which is a fate we could meet. Effectively zero as an independent metric, though it drives broader AI revenue inside of Microsoft. These peers trail LangChain's 12 million, 16 million ARR operating at sub 5 million levels with unicorn paths via cloud monetization. Railtown matching via TELUS proof of concept remains viable at a similar scale. Railtown holds competitive odds against Llama, Haystack, Semantic in the AI orchestration race, bolstered by its sovereign data center focus and TELUS/Uniserve traction. I didn't write that, although I'm part of the conversation, so I guess I may have skewed it. Never know. Competitive odds breakdown. Railtown edges peers on strategic moats. Canada First IP, hyperscaler proof of concepts, despite the peers' larger communities. 40% odds. Railtown pulls ahead in enterprise annual recurring revenue within 12 months. I think you could change that to 1.2 months. Via telescale, the odds at 35% that it ties in the revenue category, sub 20 million annual recurring revenue parity, and only 25% that Railtown lags its peers. In other words, peers monetize open source more quickly. Llama Index leads prototyping because it's a larger ecosystem. Haystack enterprises, pipelines, kernel Microsoft integration. Oh, that's for Llama, all of that. But Railtown's closed loop revenue share carves defensible niche. Llama Index, RAG indexing, 300,000 users, estimated ARR 1 to 5 million. Railtown Edge, 45%. Sovereign beats general list. Haystack, pipeline search backends, less than 5 million. 50% odds Railtown beats it. Discounted cash flow specific is greater than generic. Semantic kernel, Microsoft Copilot integration, 0 revenue externally. Odds that Railtown beats it, 60%. Railtown's 6-year R&D and proof of concepts positions it for a quote-unquote must-own snapback at current $50 million enterprise value, outpacing open source peers if execution hits 10 to 25 million ARR. They're going to do that just from the network. AI orchestration subsegments like AI, like agent tooling, shows explosive projective CAGRs. Through 2030, 2035, far outpacing general SaaS amid enterprise autonomy shifts. Broad market, 22% compound annual growth, and it'll grow to 30 to 50 billion. That might say 59 billion, driven by multi-agent workflows and cloud edge integration. Here's the subsegments: AI agents, agentic AI, coding, dev agents, vertical AI agents, code generation agents. And they're all going to be multi-billion-dollar markets. And they're all growing at massive compounded rates, 40 to 60%. And I think Railtown, it applies to all of them. These rates, averaging 40% plus, validate multi-winner total asset market for Railtown versus Llama Index, Haystack, Kernel, with sovereign agent tooling, TELUS aligned, poised for premium growth. And that was it. That's all I had for today. That's all I had. All I had for today. The point is, to summarize as I see it, and my questions might have led to the answers. I don't think so, but it's possible. But the point is the market correct on the Railtown valuation? Is today's price of 27.5 cents telling you something? Or is LangChain's valuation correct at 1.2, 1.5 billion? Or are they both correct? If there's room for only one, they could both be correct. And what I think the exercise I just showed you is that the total addressable market is large enough that there's room not only for two, but for multiple decabillion valuations, multiple. So the fact that LangChain or Llama are there doesn't justify Railtown being in the basement. That's what I take away. Secondly, if LangChain is mispriced, I think the odds would have come out, and told us, I don't know, 50%, 60%, that LangChain's valuation could collapse. It didn't say that. It essentially said 0% chance that LangChain's valuation goes to where Railtown is. So it only leaves one other thing, that Railtown can go up to LangChain's value or beat it. And the odds are that we just saw are very high that LangChain will catch up. Railtown will catch up to LangChain. With proof of concept. Jeremy Simmons, good things, young man, and all the shareholders. Justin Babish, I got 2,100 more shares. Wow, Justin, that's great. Um, 2,100 more. Total of 72.4. That's great, Justin. Good job. I got a better price today than I did last week. That's how to do it. Oh, another 52,500 on the ask. Let me look. I don't see it right now. I see 44,000, but that doesn't mean give it a second. Give it a second. But good for you. That's the way to do it. That's called dollar cost averaging. And so it's great. Justin, so I thought the price would get walked down. So I put my order in at 27 and knew they would have to step on me as they walked past. Filled at 26.9. Brilliant. Brilliant, Justin. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. T. Alex. Good afternoon, William and RT family. Ms. Ansari, the Democrat Ms. Ansari, doesn't quite measure up to Anna Paulina Luna. Scott Day bought another 500. Good for you. All right. That's about all I had. We can we can check the other prices. Railtown is down slightly at 27.42. Finger is down at 120.81. GDC is down 23.51, 355.99. Are you out of your mind? MTEN is up an eighth at 194. ZJYL is up barely at 14.48. Let's just look and see what's happening in Iran, but they won't probably talk about it. Our aircraft carrier got attacked, but nothing happened, I guess. No, doesn't look like anything's happening. So that's, I guess, that's good. Oh, I don't even really know who Savannah Guthrie is, but she's going through an ordeal. I've heard her name before, but I really don't know who she is. Oh my gosh. Tempers flare between Maxine Waters and Besant over inflation. Can you shut up? This country, we're not cooperating. Oh yeah. Okay, so the only other thing I can think to do, which might give us some information that's useful, is to go through Jim Rickard's 10 predictions for 2026. I haven't read it, but we'll see what it says. It's that time of year again when we offer our forecast for the year ahead. Everybody does the same thing. Our role at Strategic Intelligence, which you can subscribe to, is to do better than a random outcome. We went 4 for 4 for stock picks and 9 for 9 in total picks. If you include currencies and commodities, we batted 1,000, which in baseball is as good as it gets. In the real world of baseball, the best hitters barely get to 300. All right, so let's see what their predictions are. Our forecasts. We predict the economy slowing considerably in 2026. I don't think that's very daring. I don't think that's particularly daring. Whether this slowdown is reflected in GDP performance is separate. Okay? The US economy will enter a technical recession in 2026. Tariffs. US tariffs on imports will continue and expand regardless of Supreme Court rulings. I think they're already wrong on this one. They predict Kevin Hassett will be the new chair of the Federal Reserve. I think it was somebody else, Warsh. Oil prices will fall to $45 a barrel, $45 a barrel or lower, which is a great opportunity for us if we can just get some capital in our accounts to go acquire producing properties, cash flow with locations, and hopefully maybe be able to establish inventory. Because I think over the next 5 to 10 years, oil's going to go $500, $600, $700 a barrel or higher. So that's a great opportunity for us ahead of us. Remember, those who got in early in silver, what happened with silver? Those who got in early in gold too. In some of the miners, early in Bitcoin, for example. Sometimes when you're early, it's where you get the easiest and best returns. So he's predicting oil will go to 45. I actually think oil could go lower than that. The only wild card is war. But okay. Major AI stocks. In 2026, we believe AI stocks, including NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Oracle, and Google, will decline sharply. This does not mean the end of AI. Instead, it will reflect write-offs from overinvestment in semiconductors. That's a contrarian point of view. Data centers, large language models, and development costs. Yeah, I'm not sure large language models are the future. They may not be the future. One of the winners will be Anthropic. So their prediction, an index of NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Google, and Oracle will fall 30% or more. Wow. Wow. But we'll see. The war in Ukraine. We see the war dragging on. Okay, no kidding. In the end, the Ukraine will surrender with far less territory than they could have with a peace treaty today. Zelensky will be forced to flee or will be killed, but he will be replaced by another neo-Nazi who is just as corrupt. US support will dry up, and European support will be exposed for the sham it is. So the prediction, Russia will be victorious in the war in Ukraine. Zelensky will flee or be killed. And then on gold, central banks are net buyers of gold, and it puts a floor under the price of gold. He doesn't really seem, gold will reach 5,000. Well, when did you print this? I've been predicting 5,000, my friends, for almost 2 years. See that little 5,000 right there? I've been predicting that. I've been showing it to you. All right, so his market prediction, the stock market indices will decline by 10% or more. The decline will be led by AI stocks, but will be amplified by declines in automobiles, consumer durables, pharmaceuticals, and electronics. Winners. Winners can be found in energy, in defense, natural resources, minerals, and mining and agriculture. Also, the yield on the 10-year Treasury will fall to 3% or lower. The defense, energy, minerals, and mining sectors will outperform the S&P index. So my 10 predictions for 2026. The U.S. economy will enter a technical recession. This is not mine. This is Jim Ricker's. U.S. tariffs on imports will continue and expand regardless of Supreme Court rulings. Kevin Hassett will be the new chair of the Federal Reserve Board. Oil prices will fall to $45 a barrel. An index of NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Google, and Oracle will fall by a third. Russia will be victorious in the war in the Ukraine, and Zelensky will flee or otherwise. Gold will reach $5,000 or higher. The S&P stock index will fall by 10%. The yield to maturity on the 10-year note will fall below 3%. Defense, energy, minerals, mining will outperform the S&P 500. The event that no one has thought of. Our track record is excellent, including against the odd calls on Trump's victory in 2016. I called that one. The Brexit vote, I wasn't interested. The 2020 pandemic, what's the bet there? And the exact number of electoral votes Trump would score in 24. Wow. Okay. Bravo. We have the best record in the business. No one else comes close, including Nate Silver, Ian Bremmer, and Nouriel Roubini. At the beginning of 1994, no one expected Mexico to be broke. At the beginning of 1998, no one expected long-term capital management to threaten the global markets. It did. By January 2020, no one predicted a global pandemic that would take the markets down by 30%. That's what happened. So here are the three greatest market threats ahead in Jim Rickard's estimation for 2026. One, an escalation of the war in the Ukraine, which moves the world closer to nuclear war. That's what Christina Vanden Heuvel's husband, Cohen, Professor Steve Cohen, he passed away, unfortunately. She's the editor of The Nation. She's very good. She's very fair. Two, a run on the bank scenario in stable coins that threatens contagion in the main banking system. So the first one is the Ukraine war escalates to nuclear war. Our hope there, I think, is Trump and Putin. And most people in the United States hate them both. But I think it's their interaction that saves us from that. A run on the bank scenario in stablecoins threatens the main banking system. I don't know. I could see it. And then three, a collapse in AI-related stock valuations that spreads to broader stock market indices. All right, a gold play with major upside. Let's see what his gold play is with major upside. Our favorite large cap gold miner is poised for another rally. We recommend buying Agnico Eagle Mines. It's a good one. Symbol is AEM. As the best managed large cap gold mining company, it's worth buying on dips or buying for the first time when it consolidates in a bull market. AEM has been consolidating for several months. The market's recognition of Agnico's surging earnings power is your opportunity to buy ahead of a bigger crowd of investors. Agnico is minting money, so much money at $4,300 gold prices that management now faces the good problem of what to do with all the new cash. We are confident Agnico will make a good decision, whether it be stock buyback, special dividends, CapEx timeline accelerations, or acquisitions. We think there's another triple in the stock. Wow. So we would buy Agnico Eagle Mines up to $195 a share. Whew. They like Merck. I'm not going to read about Merck. 2026, Byron W. King, senior geologist, a copper melt up and a tech meltdown. Gold, silver, platinum, up, up, up. Copper, lead, zinc, up, up, up. Uranium, up. Rare earths, up. Antimony, up. Tungsten, up. Tin, up, and more. We see a melt up in copper prices and copper miners. The looming copper melt up. Not long ago, I was on the phone with a friend who has spent many years working in the copper industry. He has skin in the game with a series of $500 million copper projects in Brazil, Peru, and Chile. I'm planning on copper at over $12,000 per ton this year. So copper over $6 a pound? That's my target, he replied. It's already over $5.25 and breaking to the upside. I almost had forgotten that copper traded for under $1 in the early 2000s. Ample supply from mines that were developed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and there wasn't so much demand 25 years ago, before China transformed into its current status as an industrial juggernaut. And then there was a crash, brought prices down to $2 to $3 in the mid-2010. The way to look at this is that when mining companies explore, they tend to find ore. And that big rush of new reserves in the 1990s was the product of investment in the 70s and 80s. But also look at the lowball exploration budgets in the 90s and early 2000s. Low metal prices meant fewer exploration dollars and related efforts in the field. This led to fewer discoveries and a drop-off in new reserve additions from 2008 to the present. One large reserve addition in 2011 came from one massive discovery in Serbia. Another way of viewing the copper situation the discoveries are fewer, smaller, and deeper in the ground. So he has a copper idea for you. I like his idea, by the way. One great old name is Freeport McMoran. I mean, that's the best copper idea, FCX, whose copper mining core is the old Phelps Dodge Co. It built the American West. FCX shares trade at $49. Freeport is a buy at current levels, that's FCX, with limited downside. Watch the charts, wait for down days in the market, use limit prices, never chase momentum. FCX is not part of the official portfolio at Strategic Intelligence. Top 5 buys at Rickards Strategic Intelligence. Number 1, Anico Eagle Mines. Buy it up to $195 a share. I can buy 1 share. Danao is a one-stop source for any materials that drilling crews, pipeline operators, refineries, and industrial facilities need. That's a good idea. DNOW, up to $17 a share. Olin Corp, OLN. It's a industrial powerhouse. Buy up to $28 a share. They think it could rise to $250 a share by the end of the decade. That's 10x. They also like the quadratic interest rate volatility and inflation hedge ETF, the IVOL, IVOL. I don't know. I probably, and I love this one, Alamis Gold, AGI. That's the guy. I met the CEO a few years back in Toronto. I sent him our gold project, but I didn't do a very professional job. So I'll follow up with him, but I doubt he remembers me. But I'll follow up. A bunch of crap. Could tariffs replace the income tax? Short answer is yes. I don't think so myself, because that would be giving up too much power. All right. Well, that was a walk down, a little bit of a distraction. Railtown closed at 27.62. The bid now is 26.2. The ask 37.81. Obviously, that's in the. They're just stepping away. They don't want to sell any stock. They don't want to buy any stock. Well, I suppose they would buy it if it's cheap enough. Railtown 27.62. Finger 119.97. GDC 348.5. MTEN down 5 cents, 190. ZJYL 0.1415. The Dow closed in the green, up 260. NASDAQ closed down 350. So one of the big stocks must have been down. S&P down 35. Let's see if we can find out who it was. Let's just see. If it's one of them, they'll tell us. The NASDAQ led the way down as mega cap tech and software stocks continued slumping. Bitcoin sinks after Besant says U.S. can't tell banks to bail out crypto. Software stocks crushed by Anthropic wake-up call. Let's see what that says. U.S. software stocks extended their slide on Wednesday, driven by fears of disruption caused by artificial intelligence, with some analysts warning of more volatility. The sell-off was triggered by a new legal tool from Anthropic, which showed that the AI industry's growing push into industries that can unlock lucrative enterprise revenue needed to fund massive investments in the technology. The push sparked fears of disruption in industries ranging from finance to law to coding. Sounds like it's good for AI software. U.S. Ford sales are slumping. AMD stock plummets despite Q4 earnings beat. Personally, that doesn't surprise me. I wasn't that impressed with Dr. Sue, although I'm sure she's got a good strategy, but I didn't think her presentation was as strong as NVIDIA's. And it's not because of her, it's just the AMD argument didn't strike me as being as strong as the NVIDIA argument. For now, that can always change. OpenAI's revenue growth could make, all right. Amazon to report Q4 earnings. Well, I guess we could wait and see what those kind of numbers are. Jim Cramer says, I actually felt sorry for Microsoft. Not too sorry, though. Traders dump software stocks as AI fears erupt. That's not AI software. That's SaaS. I bet Constellation Software is down. Let's look. NVIDIA's CEO says there's no AI bubble. Snowflake just struck a $200 million deal with OpenAI. Microsoft is still getting drubbed in the software sell-off, so maybe that's what caused this down. Okay. What was I going to look up? I can't remember. We'll see if they announce their earnings. A new CEO of Apple? I don't see any announcement. All right, let's see what Neil says. Neil says, afternoon team, Railtown. Around 170,000 shares on the Canadian Stock Exchange, but nothing on the ATS. Several analysts on Bloomberg today reference better get up to speed with AI or get left behind. I think you're right about that, Neil. Ward, good afternoon, William and RT crew. Just finished waxing the new train. I see the RT crew has added over 10,032 cash cows to the RT herd today. Fantastic. Ward Richardson, Apple buys audio AI startup Q.AI for $2 billion to read your lips. Read my lips. No new taxes. Must be some sort of LiDAR system or sensor. Read my lips. We're not going to just let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Me, Smith, and Wesson. Go ahead. Q.AI at $2 billion. That would be $10 a share for us. I wonder why they need it. They need it for robots or for human beings. I guess for both. Because you're going to walk around with your own AI if you do. When do they report earnings? 4/15? AI trading bot for beginners. It's interesting. All right, I don't know what else to say. There's no more comments. What I've tried to address for the last, I guess, 3 times is asking the question, is the market correctly pricing Railtown? Or is the private equity groups, are they correctly pricing Langchain? Could they both be right? Both be wrong? Is there room for more than one winner in the overall market? Does Railtown have advantages? What's the risk to the downside in Railtown? I mean, it's flat on the map. Is it done and dusted? Is it down for the count? Or does it eat a can of spinach and pop up and beat Brutus for olive oil's affections? We'll find out. But I think there's enough information there to show you that the risk reward in Railtown as an investment, not as, I don't know about day trading, as an investment, you've got, I think conservatively, 25x, which could happen very quickly, against nothing. I mean, the stock's basically trading for nothing, but obviously you're putting up money. And if the stock goes down, you're going to be down some money. But, any stock at any time can go down. But I think the risk reward just couldn't be better. And that just gets Railtown awareness, gets Railtown to a comparable valuation as its peers. I think Railtown is peerless, but if it gets to the peers, you've got 20, 25, 30x. I think it's a compelling buy, hold, add, and I can't think of anything that is more compelling. Of course, I've been wrong for, depending on how you count it, for over a year, over 6 months for sure. So it's where we are. Account settings. Did you see Best was listed for trading? No. So they're going to bury all of that, all of those shorts in Best? Let me look up Best. Best, you are my woman now. Bimergen Energy Corp. Bimergen Energy Corp. Uplist to the American. And they're going to go to the NYSE. Well, both Torchlight and MMTO, I don't know about Torchlight, but MMTLP doesn't exist anymore. So one of the questions I would have account setting, and I don't know the answer, is do QSIPs expire? Do they become available again? Let me see if I can Google that. Is BESS using Torchlight or MMTLP QSIP number? There is no evidence backing this conspiracy theory. Based on information regarding the corporate actions of Torchlight Metamaterials and subsequent spinoff into Nextbridge Harbin's MMTLP, CUSIP numbers are unique identifiers that do not get recycled for different companies. Torchlight had its own original CUSIP. MMTLP was assigned a unique CUSIP when it was created as a placeholder for the special dividend, which was later exchanged for Nextbridge hydrocarbon shares, unless you listen to WD. If BESS, by Emergent Energy, is a completely separate entity or a new entity, it would be required to have its own unique CUSIP number, not reuse a previous one from Torch or MMTLP. No, there is significant chatter and confusion online surrounding these tickers because of the MMTLP Nextbridge corporate action, but CUSIPs themselves are not recycled. See, I don't think you can trust how, I think all the information in the data is controlled by the banks. Let me see what you just sent me. Gee, I wonder why Bimergen is blocking MMTLP shareholders from mentioning they are using a fraudulent CUSIP number. Maybe MMTLP's CUSIP number was never valid. I don't know. BitTech used Torchlight's old CUSIP in its SEC filings. That's got to be fraudulent, even after Torchlight merged into Metamaterial. That same CUSIP ties directly to MMTLP shares. By reusing it, BitTech may have created a hidden way to quote-unquote off-ramp, counterfeit, or naked short MMTLP without anyone noticing. That's what I would think. They're flooding that stock with the position. Now they're suddenly doing 140 for one reverse split. Well, that's classic, and switching to a brand new CUSIP. So now Bimergen will have a brand new CUSIP. So yeah, it sounds like that's what they did. They found a way with regulators who either don't know what they're doing or are complicit to take billions of shares of fake MMTLP and reverse split it all. Oh, Lordy. It never gets better for anybody, me included in this. That's why I don't know account settings. Did anyone ever verify that you just cannot move your MMTLP to Nextbridge? Because that'd be the first thing I'd be doing, is moving that over. Perhaps you can't do it at Fidelity anymore, and almost certainly you can't do it at TradeStation. But I'm not sure these other companies can not do it, particularly if you put your request in writing. But I don't know. I don't know account settings, what the status is. It sounds like they used the old CUSIP that no one was paying attention to. Because MMTLP doesn't exist anymore. Torchlight doesn't exist anymore. They got MMTLP to start trading fraudulently. So why not just use that, move everything around a bit in the shadows, and then when they created the new CUSIP, they got the shares all counted in Besament, or whatever the name of the bloody thing is. And then they created a new QSIP 140 to 1. I mean, if there were 2 billion, I'm just making it up. I have absolutely no idea. But if there were 2 billion MMTLP shares out there, why is that so difficult? Oh, I guess it's a big number. All right, let me use the other calculator. I think it's, I don't know the, let me use a different calculator. I don't know the decimal point. Yeah, okay. It's so they've reduced by doing that. If they're successful, that sleight of hand, they reduced 2 billion shares to 14 million. You're not going to have a squeeze with 14 million shares, that's for sure. And this is why I've been I don't want to say negative is the wrong word, but I've just cautioned that people have to move their shares from MMTLP to NextBridge. And then the way to fight back, I fought, I still am willing to fight. Give me a job, I'll go do it. But to me, one of the best ways to get back at this system is Railtown, because the stock is suppressed by this heaviness. It shouldn't be. They haven't done any toxic financing. And I think it's a way we can get our money back that we've lost. You know, in my case, I'm down $40,000 in MMTLP. I'm down something like, let's call it, I think it's more than this, but let's call it 125 in finger. Yeah, I think it's more, but I don't want to take the time to look it up. I'm easily down. Let me just try to calculate. I mean, I've got to be down 100 or more in GTII and CRTD. It's got to be 100 or more. That's not pretty. That is not pretty. So that's 365,000. If I assume Railtown goes to $6, that means I need 61,000 shares of Railtown to break even on my losses. And then if Railtown were to go to 12, I get paid for all that pain and suffering. If Railtown were to go to 18 or 20, it's 3 times. And I mean, that's not going to happen outside of my IRA, so it's not going to change my life. But that might happen in my IRA. But that's my strategy, and one that I think all of you should do. Write down your losses. Pick a target for Railtown. I mean, I think Railtown can go to $55, but if it's inside of the belly of another beast, that's not the appropriate target. Let's say Microsoft and NVIDIA and Google try to buy it. Maybe it goes to that in a buyout bidding war. But if it's not a bidding war, what's a possible plausible buyout? I mean, if it becomes like a confluent valuation, 11 billion, that's $52. So that's kind of that's our hope, that it becomes valued at confluent or higher valuations in a bidding war. But if it's more like this, what's the one that Ward just said? Apple buys the AI startup Q.ai for $2 billion. Well, that's $10 a share. And if LangChain right now is worth 1.5 to 2.5 billion, that's $10 a share. So maybe that's the number to use on a. I wouldn't even call that conservative. $5 might be conservative, but you pick a number. So if you have your losses, I mean, that number is more achievable for me. If I lost $365,000 divided by 10, yeah, that's much more in my range. You need 36,500 shares. Buy 50,000 shares right now of Railtown. If you have those kind of losses at 28 cents, that's 14 grand. Yes, it's putting up more money. But if Railtown gets to $10, you have $500,000 paying for all the pain, all the bloody injustice of MMTLP and others. And at $10, and that's the question. Does that value move from $10 to $50 inside of the stomach of a bigger company? Or does it happen? Does it materialize in a bidding war? We don't know that. But it's possible. I think it's reasonable that Railtown could achieve, let me pick a number, 150 million in forward projected ARR. And if we use the 35 multiple, that's $5,250,000,000. $5,250,000,000. If you divide that by the current shares, that's a $25 target. I think that could happen in a bidding war. So my point is, if you take your losses, divide it by a target that you think's reasonable, make sure you own that many shares of Railtown. So you add up your losses of MMTLP, your GTII, your AME, your GMC, and I don't know why you're holding those stocks. I would book the losses, because Railtown has more odds. Let's say you own AME. Railtown has more odds both of a snap rally to 20-30x and of a squeeze in the next 30 days, 31 days, 45 days than AME has of doing jack. Book the loss. Get it off your screen. You can always come back to it. After Railtown is up 25-30x, you can go back and buy your AME with just a fraction of the account if you really feel like you have to be in it. You don't have to make the money back in the stock you lost money with. You don't have to make the marriage work with the girl who cheated on you. You can leave her. You can move on, be lonely a while, and then maybe meet somebody that doesn't cheat on you. There's no reason to stick with these loser stocks. Ask Steve. I think I harangued him. I'm such an asshole to get out of ZJYL and buy Railtown at 28 or something. But if he had hung on to ZJYL, he wouldn't have anything right now. And did he really lose anything getting out of ZJYL? Does it cross his mind? Is he worried about it? Probably not. But Railtown, even though it hasn't happened yet, Railtown can give you 25x like that. AME can't. GMC can't. I don't think ZJYL, FNGR, CRAP, SHIT, MERDE, MANURE. I don't think any of these can give you anything. Why not just own Railtown? You know the story. But anyway, take a number. I mean, I'm kind of shocked at my little calculation here, which I think is conservative, by the way. But depressing. But you take your losses, divide it by a target. You use $3 a share. Obviously, the lower target you use, the better odds of getting to even. And yeah, I should add in what you pay. So I'll just call it 400. I don't know. I'm just using round numbers. You divide that by, let's say, $5. So it's 80,000 shares. Yeah, see, that doesn't quite work for me. But you could make it work. You guys have money. So if in this example you lost $400,000 in all this shit, MMTLP, Wolf, Alphabet earnings beat, but they have sharp spending rise. What else? Like Vocal or MULN, or you just write them all down. I left out my logic losses. Yeah, I'm in a more hopeless case. But if you take it and you divide it by a target, so if it, like I just said, if you lost $400,000 plus what it, it's a rough estimate. So if you're putting up new money, you got to add it in there. And you pick a target that you think Railtown will go to $5. You have to own 80,000 shares of Railtown. Now, $5 you may think's too high. You may think it only goes to 250, so you got to own 160,000 shares. But I think Railtown's going to go to 5, and ironically, once it gets to 5 or 6, I think it goes to 8, 10, 12, lickety splitting. So let's say in those numbers, you lost 500,000. Let's narrow it down to one stock, MMTLP. Let's not confuse. Let's just focus on one. You lost 400,000 in MMTLP. You figure Railtown might go to $5. And I know it seems absurd if you're just looking at stock prices, but you know the story, you know some of the reasons, and you understand the heaviness, the shorting complex out there. You learned it, you studied it. So use that knowledge to try to make your money back. Yes, you got to put up more money. So buy 80,000 shares at 30 cents, it's 24 grand. Yes, it's new money. But if that 80,000 shares goes to $5, you have all your losses plus what you paid for Railtown back. You're in the green. And then what if Railtown goes to 15 or 10? If it goes to 10, not only did you make your money, you doubled for all this pain and suffering of the last 4 or 5 years. If it goes to 15, you tripled. And frankly, I still don't think it's out of the question it can go to $55. The probability that it does most of that move inside the belly of an acquirer, I think you've got to give the odds of at least 40%. So that's frustrating. So what's 55 times 60? $33. So maybe a bidding war gets it to $30. Well, if you've designed your portfolio to buy enough Railtown that if the stock goes to $5, you've paid for the Railtown and you've broken even on your MMTLP, your Torchlight, your MMAT, your crap after crap after crapola. When it goes to 5, you're flat. Hell, if it went to 33, you've made 6-7 times on your money. And if a company's buying it out, that whole uplift in equity in your account can occur without paying taxes. It's a very powerful method of recovery. I know it seems absurd that how can a stock at 25 cents, I mean, the Platinum Blonde would laugh me out of the room because she's got such a deep understanding of the markets and such an ability to see the future and to process information. Her boss or her putative ally, the tiger turtle, you can listen to that. It's all meaningless. There's no vision there. It's just meaningless, waste of time. It's reading the latest, who's one of those political thriller novels instead of reading War and Peace, or it's watching Friends instead of watching Landman, or it's watching Married with Children instead of studying anything, any subject, history or so you can get distracted by that, or you can act. If in this example you lost, $365,000, it costs you 20 grand to buy Railtown, so call it 400,000. And if the stock goes to 5, you make it all back. That is 18x on your money. 18x. And I just showed you from Perplexity, the perplexing analysis, that 25x or higher has very high odds of occurring in Perplexity's perplexing analysis. So don't be paralyzed by all this conflicting information. Just act. And then if you get back to where you were, I hope you don't sell, because the likelihood is Railtown is going to be bought out. So you're going to get more. You're going to get green, but you're going to get it sucked up into a bigger conglomerate without paying taxes. Then you can come back, sprinkle a little money on AME, and it'll be just a small percentage of your account. You can replace your original position. But I don't recommend it. I would get away from all of this because it just rots your brain. When you're that big, I have ideas about how to make you substantial. But my suggestion would be pretty much to leave the account alone. I'm going to show you when we get there how to maybe sell calls, buy puts, or just buy puts. But we're not there yet, so there's no need to clog up the brains without those strategies to protect against a crash. But a crash in the overall markets won't last long. I bet it's 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. The Fed, the government, they'll just pour money in. So you're going to have this huge uplift in the markets. It won't go back to where it was. I don't think it'll go back to where it was if it follows 100 years ago. It might not go back to where it was for 30 years, 40 years. However, it'll be a rotation of leadership. Well, there'll be new things that leave. I believe commodities, minerals, oil and gas, orchids, water, anything that you can think of that really matters in life that's been ignored for the last 40, 45 years of financialization, it's all going to come roaring back. And there'll be a lot of money to be made in it. Cash flows, multiples, and that, with a big, if we all have, I wish I had the money I had so I could have a really large imprint, but you got to go with where you are and be thankful for it. That's the only choice you have. And you got to divorce the old names, get in the new situations. And if we all have, I don't know, the Charm Boys and Tony and the rest are going to come after you. They're going to say, hey, that was my idea, which they'll remake history. Oh, fine. So many of these shares are going to be sold and go by AME under Tony's direction, or they're going to come out to Frank Benedetto's new breathless recommendation of some crap. But which may work in one case, but overall they don't. They work for him. And I'm not picking on him specifically. It's just those guys, that's their role. But if instead some of us can build something together, I think you can create with this trade a huge uplift in your portfolio, and then we can create cash flow, reasonable risk with truly, I think, remarkable 5-year, 10-year returns. We'll put Steve in charge of it all. He's young, 48. I really think Railtown, as you know, I thought silver was it. I was talking about silver. I still love silver. But, and the gold company that many of you were in, I think it has that chance as well. But it's not liquid right now. And Railtown's sitting here. I would guess we have a month to 6 weeks. Well, you always say that it's always a month out, always a month out. Well, grow up. That's life. The chick always tells you she'll call you back. Maybe next week, maybe next month. It's life. It sucks, but that's life. So we just got to deal with it. We just have to deal with it. But I think what makes sense to me is the TELUS data center was set up in the summer. I should get that news. They have 3 customers that are using it, but it's NVIDIA, the stacks, the power. Look, it's not space, but it's Canada, so it's cold. It's the St. Lawrence Seaway, I assume. So a lot of the heat is just taken away. And it's hydropower, so it's cheap. So it's not space, but it's, it's a good facsimile as you can get on Earth. And it's ready to go. And they've probably been testing that data center, running NVIDIA and HPE and some language model. Is it large language or smaller? Does it really matter? I don't know. But if it's truly Canadian, it's probably Cohere, but we have no evidence of that. But it doesn't matter. That's other decisions. We're on top of that. And obviously the question is, if it's so great, why aren't people in Canada buying it? Well, I think we know that. And as much as we'd like to believe that people in Canada are just like the cheaters in New York City, it looks like in Canada they follow the rules a little bit better. Maybe they want to retain their board seats, keep their wives, not go to jail. Maybe they're managing so much money it's not worth the risk. They'll get there when it's available. Who knows? Who knows? But there doesn't seem to be any front running. It could be because nobody believes it. But how's that possible? You know they own the network. You know the network companies do over 100 million, maybe 125 million in revenue. Not revenue, in expense. Money that they pay to other hyperscalers out of 125 companies, not 200, that they're spending elsewhere. They're going to move it to TELUS. Just that alone gets you to your $25 million coming to Railtown at a 20, assuming a 20% split. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but roughly. But there'll be growth. So you can assume a forward projection of 20 million, 25 million. You put a multiple on that of 35x, and you're it's that 10 that always confuses it. You're at $4, $4.20. And you know that's going to happen. So act on it. And my argument to you is, once you have a bigger account, you can throw some money at Junk Savvy. You can throw some money at Busy Brands or Patrick or that statue of Liberty. Anyway, all of the people helping, you can throw money at them. I think Railtown is the way to take control of your own destiny rather than waiting for somebody to outsmart the criminals. Look what they just did with Bess. Account settings. I have requested Chase. I'm sorry. I have requested Chase to move my shares 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything back. General Flynn is completely aware of all this. I think Busy will be meeting with him and others close to the president soon. I hope so. Busy's the best. Don't be afraid to call back into Chase and ask again, you know. Hey, Joe, Marty Party. Good afternoon. I want to increase my gold. Okay. Don't send it to them if you don't mind, Marty. Let me speak to you, because here, I don't want to talk about it out over the channels. But I mean, you can do what you want, but I don't think it puts us collectively in the best position. And if I can talk to you, I looked it up. I think I know the amount of money you want to put up, which I don't think they'd take. I don't think they'd take that much, frankly. I think you'd have to double it at a minimum to have them take it. But I'll try to reach you. I didn't call you yesterday or today. I've spoken to some other people. I've got about well, shoot, I wrote everybody down. It's like 24 people. Not everybody's gonna be interested, and I've already spoken to several, gotten indications. So let me try to talk to you. Marty Party. I'm looking for your number. I have it. I can find your number. I'm trying to build a spreadsheet with phone numbers and emails too, so I can follow up. I'll get to you on it. Account settings. I believe you have my total Railtown. One, that's great. That's great. I probably have it, but that seems larger than what I remember I have, so I'll write it down. It might not be 139,990. So, I mean, 139,990. If it were to go to, let's just say a buyout happened. Let's be a little bit optimistic, but let's not let my higher numbers persuade us. Remember, I did some risking some probabilities about 3 weeks ago. And what was weird, at the higher numbers, they risked it. Obviously, they gave it a lower chance of success. All 3 or 4 number targets all came in at around $18 after you risked them all. So let's say a buyout happens at 15. Who knows? You've got $2 million. And I think that'll pay for a lot of the pain of MMTLP. But you're right. I mean, it's going to take a busy, junk savvy, General Flynn, Trump just making a policy change. It's going to take that. But in the meantime, you get your power back. You know, that's my strategy. That's my strategy. Account settings, I'm also interested. I don't have you on the list. So Marty Party, I think I have indications of interest around. It's vague, so I don't really know. But I'd say so far I have it around 25 to 50,000. I'd like to get it higher because at the end of the day, not everybody follows through on the indication they give. But I'd like to be in a position to raise. No, I'd love to, as much as we can raise, I'd love to do that. But for now, I'd like to be able to get at least 50, maybe 100, 150. And then if the good Lord blesses us, and let's say Rail Engine is, look, I don't know if they have to test it. Maybe they've already tested it. But I assume announcing that Rail Engine is ready, it's the development is finished. They just did that a week ago. It makes sense to me. They've got to put Rail Engine, rail tracks, and conductor into the stack and just test it from all different directions and make sure that there's no errors, so that when they turn on the fire hose almost of customer transfers to the data center, that it works beautifully. How long? I don't know, 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks? I just don't know. But we might learn something on February 12th when Darren Entwistle gives his earnings report. We might learn something then. That's not that far away. But if we're lucky and the creeks don't rise, maybe we do start seeing that rally in Railtown within 45 days. And then maybe with a small bit, not much, with a small bit of our asset base, we can be the ones that unleash or open the upside in that company. It's not the only thing I want to do. And there were a couple of other ideas I wanted to offset it with. Those, in my mind, well, one's just sold out, but the other is too volatile right now. But I have cash flow and other high leverage, safe high leverage strategies too. So, but the urgency is with that one right now. Ward Richardson, just check out your research here today. Oh, you just checked it out. Wow, the TAM in this field is enormous. Yeah, I mean, okay, basic question. Did the brains and the private equity get the valuation correct? I can come up with reasons why it's not. And I don't think Langchain is a unicorn, and I don't think it is the leader. I think a lot of that's propaganda to get the value up, but I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But is the Lang chain value correct or wrong? Is the market's valuation of Railtown correct or wrong? Are they both correct? Are they both wrong? Should it be in the middle? Should Lang chain be worthless? Should Railtown be worth what Lang chain was last year? You know, frankly, we don't know those numbers for sure. But my guess is Railtown should at least approach Lang chain's valuation at a minimum. But then the other question is, well, could Lang chain have stolen Railtown's thunder to such an extent that Lang chain is the thunder? And I don't see it. I don't see it. It looks like the total addressable market is both gigantic, and if you know, look at Elon Musk. He's putting data centers, which is why I think we're going after Greenland, because you want the data centers turned to the sun all the time. That's the North Pole. But anyway, that's just going to increase the total addressable market. Look at what he's asking AI to do. He started with these taxis. I don't trust these cars driving by themselves, but other people are willing to do it. But anyway, there's taxis in 4 or 5 cities. What if those taxis go to every city in the country? Is the demand for compute power and for orchestration going to go down? What if Tesla adopts the Railtown, Rail Engine real-time data processing rather than their cameras and radar, or augments it? That total addressable market is going to get bigger. What if robots replace all the children we're not having, and robots become the workforce in a new industrial revolution? Is that going to reduce or increase the size of the total addressable market? I go, you know, every now and then, I try not to eat sushi because of Fukushima Daiichi, but I used to love eating it. So I try to go in and get the salmon, which is all farm raised. It's probably bad, but at least it hasn't gone over into they haven't eaten the fish in the, anyway, it's probably risky, but every now and then but the sushi shop has this robot. Once you make your order, it comes, there's a human, but then that robot goes back and forth and services everybody in the restaurant with their drink, with their sushi, and you can update, you put your plate. It's all by robot. Do you think the total addressable market is going to disappear? I don't. So nothing goes straight up. There's always moments of doubt. There's always moments of testing the theory, but what's the risk to Railtown? The market is correct that it's a worthless piece of shite. I don't see that. I think it's just been suppressed by the heaviness, the same heaviness that stole the QSIP and put it on BESS. We know this criminality goes on. So why do we suddenly think that the price is correct? I don't think it is. And we've studied it to death. But anyway, if it is correct, well, then Lang Chain is totally mispriced. Well, why would Lang Chain be totally mispriced? Because they're saying that the orchestration frameworks and et cetera, the infra, is critical, and it really isn't. Well, are they going to get rid of data centers? Elon Musk is building them in space. It doesn't seem like they are. And when he does things, it's big, always big. If you had to choose the probabilities of those private equity boys and girls being wrong in their valuation or not, you might get an argument in a narrow range, if they missed it by 200 million. But I think you're going to find that they didn't miss by 99%. I think there is a demand for these frameworks. Every bit of software created from the last transformation or the last transformations from the 1980s onward, but all of the apps that you use on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer, everything was built just using my limited vocabulary, was built using SDKs, software development kits. All of it, every bit of it, has to be upgraded or replaced using ADKs. And when you use ADKs, you have to use Railtown or Llama or some of these others. But I think Railtown is better than all of them. We'll find out. So then you got to ask, well, if the market is there and growing, is it big enough for all of these? Can you have a Merrill Lynch? Can you have a Prudential Beige? Can you have an EF Hutton? Can you have a Morgan Stanley? Can you have Alex Brown? Can you have a Dean Witter? Can you have all of them? And you know what happened in the market over those last 45 years? There was room for every single brokerage firm, and there was room for private wealth advisors, and there was room for insurance agents, and room for banks, and room for online brokerage, and room for index funds. Why? Because the Dow went from under 1,000 and it's on its way to 70,000. Assets grew, the market grew. So if you look at the total addressable market, don't get focused on, oh my gosh, the pizza's this small right now. And if Lang Chain gets a few of the Fortune 500 companies, then Railtown is going to miss out. That pizza size, that pie, is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Tesla's going to make it's going to make a whole new pizza factory up in space. There's going to be pies everywhere. And Railtown's going to get a piece of all that. Unless it's shit. And what argues against it being shite is the very able and experienced men and women. I think it's mostly men, but there's got to be women at Homer's. But these guys and girls, they founded AIP network. They went through 170 companies, and then they found Railtown. And then they said, hey, why don't you buy us? I think that's pretty strong confirmation that Railtown is the bee's knees. But then lo and behold, while I'm getting upset about bureaucrats and law firms and we need to hear about AIP, lo and behold, along comes TELUS, one of the top 3 telecoms in Canada, one of the top 3 internet companies in Canada, and the first and only company for the time being, ready with a sovereign AI factory. I mean, the lead might only be 6 months or 9 months, but the fact is, they're first. And they chose Railtown. I think that confirms Railtown. I think it confirms Railtown. There's research I've shown you from 2 years ago. It seems ancient history now, but it confirmed Railtown. I don't know. I think at least in some quarters, my sanity's being questioned, my rationality as it pertains to investing or handling investing is being questioned. I think my stubbornness, the general attitude, why don't you effing give up, is being questioned. And, you know, against a backdrop that the whole entire stock market could crash, or that we could be in World War III, or that AI in general, but remember, AI is a whole bunch of things. Railtown is not chat. It's not chat. But Railtown's also sitting on its rear end right now. If you pull out a chart, as my friend David Reardon at Merrill Lynch used to tell me, well, look at that chart. Big funny guy, about 6'6", always had a great sense of humor, always walk up to me with some wit, but he'd pull out the chart. Well, let's see here. It can't go much lower. It's right at the bottom of the chart. Well, that's where Railtown is. It's at the bottom of the chart. I don't know what else to tell you. I think the risk reward is screaming at you. Buy it, hold it, accumulate it. And I think Railtown gives you the best opportunity to use. I think the criminals got trapped in Railtown because their computers read the headlines a year ago and just started selling. And that Railtown's one of the rare situations, if not the only one, where the wind is at the back of the company from an entire industry, and they don't need to take any money from the criminals. They're not going to get in a situation like Torchlight or MMAT or the rest. They're just not going to. So, yeah, I think that Railtown gives you a chance to make back your losses, but that's how you have to do it. You have to sit down and reckon your losses. Pick a number, $3, $5, $6 a share as your target. Divide that into your losses, add a bit for what you're paying, but you have to own enough shares so that when it gets to $3 or $6, you're break even. And then if good things happen, look, I'm not saying there's no chance of a bidding war that gets this thing to 10 or 15 billion. And bloody hell, mate. If this went to my which sounds insane. And I think Corey thought I was insane. But if it went to 40 or 50 billion, 1% of one of these, you got a huge return. But I think it's much more plausible that the bidding will happen sooner, and that just like that GitHub or that what's the one inside of Google? There was one of those companies that Google bought for $1 billion or something, and now it's worth, I don't know, 400 billion or something, or trillion. It's probably much more likely, I hope not, but it's probably much more likely that a buyout comes, and a lot of that upside that I perceive happens inside of the new company. But if we wait and get bought out, one thing that's good is we don't pay taxes right away. We can then get accustomed to the new company. It'll be probably one of the bigger ones, so we can hedge it by buying puts to protect our downside and see what happens. I mean, there's so many potential buyers, it's hard to come up with a strategy that's perfect. The thing is, we just don't know. My guess is that as soon as Railtown, and guess what? Railtown's already done the hard work. Do you realize that? 6 years of hard work are already done. It's possible they still have a little more work in making sure that rail engine, rail tracks, and conductor all operate seamlessly in the NVIDIA stack at TELUS, so when it ramps, everything ramps perfectly. But that's maybe another 1 week to 1 month. But after that, what the hell does Railtown have to do anymore? All the rest of their work's fun. Go to hotels, go to conferences, fly here, flit there, meet people. TELUS does all the hard work. Uniserve does all the hard work. You don't see that. But this little company is going to be suddenly competing in the Coliseum instead of in dusty marketplaces. It's going to be up there with the giants, but they're not the one doing the work. It's TELUS or Uniserve or others. They're the ones bringing the customers. They're the ones doing the marketing. It's their saleswomen and salesmen that are going out and bringing it in. So we're just waiting for that faucet to be turned on. That's how I see it. And will the faucet be a trickle? Will it be a garden hose? Will it be a fire hose? Will it be the opening of a gate in the Grand Canyon Dam? We'll find out. But I think it's going to be really impressive. And if, and we don't know this, if observers say we must own Railtown, and more importantly, if they say we can't let Microsoft get that, and you have two of those, my friends, you're going to see price discovery like you've never seen it before. You only need two bidders that really want to own it. So anyway, all right. T. Alex, what LSpark is? LSpark is a B2B software accelerator based in Canada that partners with startups and growing companies to provide accelerator programs, mentoring, and support. And how does LSpark enter into our conversation all of a sudden? I'll look that up. I'm going to look it up, LSpark. New partnership with TELUS. I got you. I got you. This company does not trade in the market. I got you. All right. Wow. Hey, PS71, how are you? Thank you very much. That's awfully kind. Awfully kind. Makes all the difference. Appreciate it. T. Alex, good find here. PR out an hour ago on TELUS. So, T. Alex and Ward, does that mean anything to Railtown beyond the Canada part? Which is big, I guess. I guess it's big. It's the same brain power. And you would figure that it's TELUS. Oh, sorry, I was thinking Tesla. TELUS, that is huge. That is huge. That's a good find, T. Alex. PS71, I'm just a few minutes into today's podcast. You're talking about our gold deal. Has your phone number changed since last year? No. All right. Let me, and if Marty Party, please don't contact the company because it's the amount of money that I'm not dismissing it. It's more than I have right now, but it's not going to do us any favors. I think we have to act as a collected strategy. But yes, PS71, I have you on my list to call. It might be, I might have made a spreadsheet. What I have is your email. I don't have your phone number, but I'm sure I can find your phone number. I'm sure I can. So let's do it. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. I'll try to do it tonight. It's 5:30. I'll probably have to take a break here. I don't think I really have to eat anything. But maybe, because I think you're in California. So if I call you tonight, that might be best. I'll try to do that. I don't think I got your texts, but I could be wrong. I don't remember them, but that doesn't mean I didn't get them. My number hasn't changed. I still have the same number. My phone service was down for 2 or 3 weeks. 3, I think. I guess December, I can't remember. And that might have happened maybe, but I should have gotten your text after I got it set back up. So no, my number's the same. All right, let's leave this. Ward Richardson just finished waxing the new train. I love it. 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 All right. I'm going to leave it there, 5:25, unless something pops up. Let me give it a second. No, doesn't look like it. No. Okay. So I wish everyone peace. I pray for peace in the world, as all of us do. And we'll talk again tomorrow. But I think we have some tools in our hands. Let's use them.